Medium format photography has always held a special place in my creative life. Long before digital cameras dominated the scene, my world revolved around film, particularly medium format film. My journey started with a Hasselblad 3.5, which introduced me to the beauty of square photography. That camera eventually gave way to a Leica M6, a decision I sometimes regret even today. Luckily, I later found another Hasselblad 2.8F that softened the sting of selling the first one. To this day, medium format still plays a vital role in my work. In fact, just this past weekend, I spent time shooting with my Hasselblad 500cm, a camera that I consider one of my all-time favorites. Fitted with a wide 50mm lens, that system remains an absolute joy to use. The mechanical feel, the deliberate pace, and the square negatives all remind me why I fell in love with photography in the first place. Of course, my day-to-day setup is very different. I am primarily a Leica photographer. For years I have relied on the Leica M system, most recently the M11P and, before that, the M11. I love the minimalism of those cameras, the lack of excessive features, the manual focus, the feeling of being in full control. That approach suits the way I see and make photographs. A few months ago, however, something unexpected happened. Hasselblad reached out and offered me the chance to add their latest digital medium format system, the X2D II, paired with the XCD 35-100mm zoom lens to my photographic life. At first, I was surprised. Digital medium format was never something I had seriously considered. Yet the opportunity to explore it with such a beautifully designed system had me genuinely excited. Before diving into real-world photography with the kit, I decided to film a simple unboxing and first impressions video. What follows is my experience of opening the boxes, feeling the gear for the first time, and reflecting on what it means to bring digital medium format into my world. Starting the unboxing, first box on the table was the X2D II itself. Using a knife, I carefully sliced along the seams of the packaging, taking care not to damage the outer box. Immediately I noticed how much attention Hasselblad had put into presentation. The design of the box and the way each component was nested inside reminded me of Apple's packaging during its peak years, when every detail of the unboxing experience felt intentional. Lifting the inner tray revealed the camera itself. Packed vertically, wrapped neatly, and protected in plastic, the X2D II made an immediate impression. The first touch confirmed the quality. The body felt cold to the touch, clearly crafted from solid metal, yet it was not as heavy as I had expected. I had handled the original X2D before and remembered it being rather weighty. This updated version seemed better balanced. First impressions of the camera removing the plastic wrap revealed a body that felt instantly comfortable in my hands. The grip stood out right away. I have fairly large hands, and grips on smaller digital cameras often leave me wanting more. My Sony cameras, for example, never felt comfortable to hold, and of course Leica M bodies offer no grip at all. The X2D II, by contrast, had a sculpted grip that felt natural and reassuring. Turning the body in my hands, I admired the clean industrial design. Hasselblad has a way of blending modernity with heritage, and this camera was no exception. Pressing the shutter release for the first time, I noticed its similarity to the button on my Hasselblad 500cm. That continuity of design language, the way even a button placement echoes their legacy, gave me a quiet thrill. Behind the lens mount sat the massive medium format sensor. I carefully replaced the body cap almost immediately. The last thing I wanted was to expose that giant sensor to dust. Exploring the box contents below the camera sat a second tray filled with accessories. A branded neck strap, USB-C cable, a compact battery charger, and documentation were all neatly arranged. I decided not to unwrap most of them. Over the years, I have built a streamlined charging setup at home and when traveling, so I rely on my existing USB-C blocks and cables. The strap would likely stay in the box as well. Still, I appreciated the thoughtful packaging and the inclusion of everything needed to get started. At this point, I resealed the box, leaving only the camera body on the table. The timer I had set showed about 6 minutes had passed. That marked the end of the first stage of the unboxing. Moving on to the lens, next came the lens, the Hasselblad XCD 35-100mm. The packaging echoed that of the camera body, with the same quality materials and layered tray system. Lifting the lens out of the box was a moment of surprise. This thing was enormous compared to the glass I usually use. Most of my Leica lenses are compact, barely larger than the palm of my hand. The 35-100mm, by contrast, felt like a tank. Peeling away the protective plastic only emphasized its heft. This was easily the largest lens I had ever owned. The construction seemed immaculate, with a smooth focus and zoom ring and a reassuring density. While intimidating in size, the lens radiated capability. Large glass usually means more light, more sharpness, and more rendering possibilities, and I could not wait to see how it performed. The box also contained a lens pouch and documentation. Like the camera strap, the pouch would probably remain unused, since I tend to rely on my own storage solutions. Still, the packaging was impressive. Assembling the system with both pieces unboxed, I finally mounted the 35-100mm onto the X2D II body. The combination was striking. The lens dwarfed the camera, creating a system that looked as serious as it felt. Holding the completed setup in my hand, I was struck by its size compared to my Leica M11P. One glance at the two side-by-side highlighted the massive difference between full-frame rangefinder minimal ISM and medium format digital power. Despite the size, the grip design allowed me to hold the camera comfortably, even with such a large lens attached. 3 fingers were enough to keep it balanced, leaving my index finger free for the shutter button. Powering on and setup. Next step was powering on the camera. At first, nothing happened. I quickly realized the protective tab was still in place on the battery. Removing it, I reinserted the battery, pressed the shutter button again, and the camera came to life. The rear display lit up, and I was immediately impressed by its clarity. The resolution and brightness were beautiful. Navigating through the startup menu, I selected English, set my time zone to California, and was prompted to connect the camera to Hasselblad's Focus mobile app. Downloading the app and scanning the QR code on the camera was simple. Within moments, the X2D II and my phone were paired. Having struggled in the past with other manufacturers' clunky camera apps, I was relieved by how seamless this process felt. Even though I had not yet transferred a file, I could imagine how exciting it would be to send a 100-megapixel image directly to my phone. The camera soon requested a firmware update. At that point, I noticed the battery was at just 15%. Not wanting to risk a failed update, I decided to pause, charge the camera fully, and then complete the update later. Reflections on the experience from start to finish. The unboxing experience lasted about 16 minutes. In that short span, I had already formed several impressions. First, Hasselblad clearly cares about presentation. The packaging felt premium, protective, and intentional, making the process feel special. Second, the build quality of both camera and lens exceeded expectations. The X2D II managed to feel solid without being overly heavy, while the 35-100mm lens impressed me with its massive yet refined design. Most importantly, the ergonomics surprised me. As someone accustomed to small manual focus rangefinders, I was concerned that a digital medium format camera might feel clunky or impersonal. Instead, the grip and layout of the X2D II felt intuitive and comfortable, even natural. Looking ahead, of course, an unboxing only tells part of the story. The true test of any camera lies in the field, and how it handles real shooting situations, and in the images it produces. I am especially curious to see how a photographer who thrives on slow, deliberate, manual focus shooting with film cameras will adapt to such a high-tech digital system. What excites me most is the creative potential. A 100-megapixel sensor paired with Hasselblad's optics opens possibilities that I have never had before. The thought of rendering landscapes, portraits, or even casual everyday scenes with that level of detail is thrilling. In the coming weeks, I plan to put the X2D II and 35-100mm through their paces on several projects, some of which will take me to truly spectacular locations. It will be fascinating to share not just the technical performance, but also the way this system integrates into my personal photographic style. Unboxing the Hasselblad X2D II and the XCD 35-100mm lens was more than just opening boxes. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in my photographic journey. From film-based medium format classics like the Rolleiflex and Hasselblad 500mm to the minimalism of Leica rangefinders, I have always sought tools that enhance not just image quality, but also the experience of creating. The X2D II promises to deliver both. With its thoughtful design, its enormous sensor, and its ability to connect seamlessly to modern workflows, it feels like a bridge between the tactile world of traditional photography and the limitless potential of digital technology. Now that the unboxing is complete, the real adventure begins. The next step is to take this camera out into the world, to see how it performs in practice, and to discover what kinds of photographs it will inspire me to make. If the first impressions are any indication, the journey ahead is going to be extraordinary.